All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Heifer Ranch in Perryville, Arkansas. We're coming to you live if you're watching today, and we are going to be talking all about raising pigs in the winter. My name is Tyler Pearson. I'm a program officer with our team here at Heifer USA. I'm joined today by my amazing colleague, Christine Hernandez, who's our livestock specialist in charge of raising pigs and sheep here at Heifer Ranch. If you've seen any of our YouTube videos, you know that Christine is a wealth of knowledge and information, so I'm really excited to be hanging out with her. And as you can see, over 100 pigs today here at Heifer Ranch. So in this video, we are going to be talking all about raising pigs out on pasture. And thanks to the new subscriber, we're going to be talking all about raising pigs out on pasture. We're going to be covering feed, water, shelter, tips and tricks, moving pigs, and answering your questions as always live throughout the broadcast. So if you're watching live, just type your questions in the live chat and I'll be monitoring them here on my phone, and we'll answer as many of those as we can. And if you're watching the recorded version of this video, just type your questions down in the chat or in the comments below and we will answer every single one of them. As you might be able to hear already, the pigs are a little rowdy this morning, and you might hear some squeals, you might hear some pig noises, but don't be alarmed, that's perfectly natural, and we're really excited that you're here today. So again, if you have questions, just type them in the live chat. We'll answer as many of those as we can. We want this to be a conversation. So we're going to jump right into today's content for you. And go ahead and type in the chat and let us know what breed of pigs that you're raising. We would love to hear from you. Christine, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you everybody for joining us. Today we will focus on, of course, our pastured pigs, but I really want to talk about raising them on pasture in the winter time. And so we can talk about the pros and cons about each aspect of raising pigs on pasture in the winter time. But if you guys have questions, please ask and I will do my best to answer them for you. But a lot of the people may think we're a little crazy for raising pigs outside in the winter time. They may think it may be too cold for them or anything like that, or they may be destructive to the ground. And so we'll talk about both of those things. The pigs we have here with us today, this group of pigs arrived at the ranch back in October, about the middle of October, and they were in our piglet receiving barn for about 12 days. And then after that we brought them down here into what we call our horseshoe pasture. And so they've been out on pasture rotating weekly since the end of October. And they have been doing a great job. They're a great group of pigs. There's 109 of them in here. They're not a specific breed, they're kind of a mixture of different breeds. So there's some Yorkshire influence, some Hampshire, some Duroc, and some Berkshire and things like that. So a little bit of everything you'll see out there. But what we can focus on first would be our water setup. And so with pigs, no matter what month it is, pigs and water, they go very well together. In the summertime, pigs get hot and they need a wallow to cool themselves off with. So water is very important then, but it's also really important in the wintertime. But it's more difficult in the wintertime because of freezing temperatures. So here in Arkansas, last night it got down, I think it was like 20 or 22 degrees last night. And so we unplugged our water so that our hoses didn't freeze. But then we have to make sure that the pigs have access to fresh water in the morning. And so the way we currently have our water set up is we use water hoses to connect to a hydrant. And these pigs are so far back in our pasture, that we have a handful of hoses all connected together. And so we disconnect the water hose from the hydrant, and if you do a really good job of draining all the water out of your hose, it'd be easy enough for you to rehook it up to your faucet in the morning and get that water reconnected. We have so many hoses going back to our hydrant. Like I said, we're really far away from our water hydrant right now, that we shut it off. We disconnect our water tanks from our hose, and then I take just a regular hose cap and I will cap off the water tanks. So those 50-gallon water tanks, I'll cap it off with this. That way, the 50 gallons of water that's in the water tank, at 5 o'clock at night when I do this, the pigs have access to all that water. So they'll have 100 gallons of water to drink, from 5 p.m. up until the early morning. And when I come and check on them in the morning, if the ice isn't too thick on that water tank, the pigs can break that with their nose. But then I will bring a portable water tote out here and fill that water, the 50-gallon water tubs up with that until our hoses unfreeze. Which here in Arkansas, I think today it was like 9:30. I was able to turn the waters back on. But before that, I'd already brought down 65 gallons of water and filled up their water tank, so they always have water, no matter what the temperature is outside. Do you want to look at the water tank?
Yeah,
do you have any questions?
Let me jump in and say hi to the chat real quick, and then we'll look at this water tank next. I want to say hey to everybody who's watching real quick. We got Sean, Major Williams, Angela Hagenese, Todd Jackson, in Western New York. The folks are raised in Idaho, pastured pigs, I see. Angela Hagenese is in Wisconsin. Yeah, the water must be difficult up there for sure. We got folks in Florida raising Tamworth and Coonies, so all over the country. Hey to Rose Hill Homestead right here in Arkansas. Thank you guys so much for joining us live. I see your questions are coming in. We're going to answer a couple of those real quick, and then we're going to show you this water tank over here that Christine totes around. And our first question comes from Sean. Sean wants to know, do you give any vaccines to your pigs?
We don't give any vaccines here at the ranch. They will get vaccinated before they leave where they're farrowed at. And that would be for like pneumonia and things like that. But we don't give them any vaccines here.
Gotcha. All right, let's see. I think we got another question here. This one is coming from Major Williams. They want to know if crossbreeds are better.
I think that's going to be a personal preference for you, for what your market is looking for. Any like purebred animal is going to come with some challenges, some genetic challenges as well. What we're looking for here, or if you're farrowing your own, that would be something to look for too. Like, you want an animal that's going to do well with your management style and how you're raising them.
You're good.
Oh. Okay. So I personally really like the crossbreeding that we have going on here. But I've also raised some purebred Berkshires that were really nice, some purebred red wattles, and some Boston Mountains. So there's pros and cons to having purebreds versus, the Heinz 57 that we have out here. But going back to the water tank, so every morning that it's below 32 degrees, I will get this water tank filled up with our hydrant up at the building. It holds 65 gallons and just fits into the back of whatever vehicle we're driving, so one of our gators. And then I will hook a hose up to the connection down here, and then it will just gravity feed into the water tanks or the water troughs. And the water troughs are always on the edge of the pasture, so I can easily just drive up to them, hook the hose up and let it gravity feed into there. It takes about 10 minutes or so to fill up one of the water troughs. I always go to the group of pigs that will need the water the most. So we have 250 pigs here on the ranch right now. This group is the biggest, so there's 109 in here. Their weights are probably, 175 to 250 pounds or so, I would think. And so they're going to be consuming the most water. So I will come and fill up their water troughs first before I go to the other groups of pigs.
Awesome. Cool. All right, let's see if we got any more questions here. I think I fixed my microphone issues. Thank you guys for letting me know about that. You should be able to hear me a little bit better now. Okay, we got a question from Kristen Reinford. She says she's read that parasite pressure is increased in the winter for pastured pigs. Has this been your experience? And if so, what'd you do about it? Great question.
That is a really great question. And have a few things going on in my head right now. I don't know the exact answer to that question. I would think that it would depend on how you're raising them, for one. So if you're raising your pigs like in what's called like a sacrifice pasture, or in a single paddock where you're not moving them off of, you know, their old manure or anything like that, then yes, I mean, parasites would be a problem, and that would be a problem all year long. Depending on where you're at in the world, you know, depending on what your weather is like, usually parasites have the ability to go into like a hibernation in the cooler weather, because it's just not productive for them, you know, to be out there reproducing and things like that if the weather's freezing or cold or anything like that. We move our pigs every 5 to 7 days, and so they're not left on their old manure for very long. They're always going to a fresh paddock. And so, like I said, I think it would depend on how you're raising them, would be your parasite pressures.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the question, Kristen. Appreciate it. And then you want to show the water tanks themselves over here?
Sure.
Talk a little bit about those,
Yeah.
and then we'll move on to the next topic.
Okay, yes.
Keep watching, guys. We got so much planned for you in this 1 hour live stream today. We're going to talk about the waters a little bit more. We're going to cover the feed devices that we use, the shelters over there. We're going to show you the pasture that we're moving the pigs into tomorrow, just so you can get an idea of the difference between, you know, what it looks like after they've been in for a few days and then what they're going to, and the difference they can make. We've got merchandise giveaways at the end of the live stream too, so if you stick around until the end, you're going to get a chance to win some free Heifer USA branded merchandise. So that's really great. We have some awesome video clips that we're going to play for you, and so much more. So stick around and keep those questions coming. Thank you so much.
So for our pig waterers, this is the type of water that I use as soon as they come out onto pasture. The water we have in their receiving barn is a little bit different, and we also have a YouTube video on how we make these, but these are 50-gallon Rubbermaid totes. I believe we get them, you can get them from Tractor Supply or Lowe's, or maybe your local farm store or anything like that. And then we put in a float valve. So I really like the Job valves. And then that's able to just hook up to our hose, which is our water source. And then I put electric fence insulators. I screw those onto the top of the water tank so that our hot wire can run over top of it. That prevents the pigs, you know, from trying to get into the waterer, from having access to the back of it where the hose is connected to it, from tipping it over and things like that. So this is a really durable water tank that we use. I usually put one 50-gallon water out here per 50 pigs. Yeah.
They seem to like it.
They love it.
And did you mention freezing issues with the water?
Yeah, I mean, so it is going to like our water's going to freeze anytime it's below 32 degrees. If there's just a thin layer of ice on here, you know, the pigs can come up and it'll be broken in the morning. By the time the ice will be broken by the time I get down here in the morning, and you can see they've already drank some water that's below the ice line. But then I could just fill it up with our portable water tote. But I mean, the pigs don't mind the cold water or anything like that.
Obviously not. They keep coming back for more. Look at that. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. And if you guys want to check it out, the video all about how we build these water tanks, we made a really great video right here on our YouTube channel, and you can see how Christine builds one from start to finish. So just subscribe to the channel and you can find that video later. If you're just joining us, guys, we're talking all about raising pigs on pasture in the wintertime. We're here live in Perryville, Arkansas, with Christine Hernandez. My name's Tyler Pearson. Thanks for joining us here at Heifer USA. We got a lot more planned to show you in the live stream today. If you have questions, just type them in the live chat and we will answer as many of those as we can. If we don't get to your question, we'll follow up with you. And if you're watching the recorded version of this video, just type your questions down in the comments and we'll answer every single one of them. Lots more to come, including some merchandise giveaways, so keep watching. Let's answer a couple of these quick questions real quick. Let's see. Okay. A question about free feeding pigs. Angela Hagnes, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, asked, do we free feed our pigs?
Yes, we do. So over here you can see we have actually 4 feeders out here with them. These are the Osborne brand. These specific ones hold, I think they're 45 bushels, which, you know, a bushel could mean just about anything. But I put 2,000 pounds in there at a time, so it can hold a ton of feed. And I usually put one feeder out here per 50 pigs, but in the wintertime, the pigs are going to increase their feed consumption. So I have 4 feeders out here with them right now, so there's plenty of feed. You can see, you know, there's 12 head slots in there. They're all filled up right now. Everyone's up getting their snacks. But yeah, we free feed them, but you also want to be mindful of how you're feeding them to limit the amount of wasted feed that you have. And so, you know, we make them work a little bit for their feed. If there weren't so many around there, I'd show you a little bit better how it worked. But you want to decrease that feed wastage. Like I said, they're going to increase how much feed.
You want to walk to that other one real quick?
They will eat in the wintertime. Yeah, excuse me.
Yeah, we can walk over here and show you guys this other one. This must be the good feed because they are hanging out there. But we'll show you this Osborne Bulk Feeder over here. And while we're walking over here, I got another question. Well, let's cover this,
okay,
and then we'll get to that question.
Okay. So with these Osborne feeders, they also make one that has a double layer on it, and that's a 65 bushel feeder. We have one of those. I really like that. Obviously it will hold more feed. But the way this works, you'll put feed in through the top of it, and what the pigs have to do, excuse me, they have to move this feed arm, is what I call it. They have to move this with their nose while they're eating, and that causes the feed to drop down from inside. And so it may look like, you know, they don't have access to feed right now, but they do. You know, when they come up and they just move this a little bit, feed's gonna come down and they can reach in there and get it. What I want to see is only to have this trough, you know, like 50% full of feed. So maybe like to where this lip is in the feed trough. That will help prevent any wasted feed and help keep this area back here cleaner. In the wintertime or when it rains a lot, you know, pigs are gonna come up here and they're gonna have mud on their snouts or on their jowls or anything like that, and that's gonna cause mud to build up on the back of this here. And if you don't clean that out, then it will prevent the feed arm from moving freely and maybe a little bit more difficult. These feeders, like I said, I really, really like them. I don't have very many issues with them. The only thing is that smaller pigs can't use them. The pigs need to be about 100 pounds before they're really strong enough to be moving these feed arms on their own.
Awesome, great question. I want to say thank you to Bill and Ingrid Green for subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys following us along. Let's see, another question here. Growing with Natural State Flower Farm wants to know how much space per pig do you need in the pasture? And we'll get to Bill and Ingrid's question in just a second. But yeah, how much space per pig do you need in the pasture? Do you know the spacing standards off the top of your head?
We do 50 pigs per half acre. And so with this 109 pigs, you know, they have an acre of space roughly, or a little bit more. And so we use temporary fences. You know, that's how we keep the pigs moving and where they are right now. And we can go over that in a little bit once we get closer to one of them. But we use poly posts and poly wire to be able to make our different paddocks.
Awesome, great. Okay, and then let's see, Bill and Ingrid Green, they did ask, how do you deal with below zero temperatures?
Below zero temperatures. Mm-hmm. So we can go look at the shelters over there. But I mean, pigs, as long as it's not a single pig or just a few pigs, you know, on their own, pigs they're gonna have a nice fat layer that they've been putting on. And as long as they have a dry place to be, as long as they have dry bedding, you know, they have a little bit of a shelter and they have other pigs with them, they're going to be able to withstand that cold temperature or that below freezing temperature without a problem. I have a farmer friend out in Virginia. He took a picture. His thermometer was -2 the other day, and he grows pigs out on pasture like this, and they were all, you know, cuddled together. You'll come out here sometimes when it's really cold and there'll just be steam coming off of the pig piles. Quit biting my pig.
Yeah, let's see. Verna Farm says, wish we could do that here. It was negative 24 yesterday.
No, thank you. I'll stay in Arkansas.
Yeah, I'm out here and it's like 39.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. But, okay, Healthy Homestead Chick just subscribed. Thanks so much for subscribing. And it's our pleasure to do the live stream. Welcome to the channel, by the way. We have lots of really great videos that will help you on your journey as you're getting started raising pigs on your homestead. So be sure to check out our Pastured Pig playlist right here on our YouTube channel. So much information. I mean, we've made a lot of videos on raising pigs out on pasture that I'm sure you'll find helpful. Okay, anything else you want to cover about the feeder here?
Yeah, sure. So with these feeders, I have, like I said, I have 4 of them out here. Depending on what the terrain is like in their paddock, I try and keep the 4 feeders, relatively close together so that their feeding station is in one area. And then whichever feeder is closest to the waterer is the one that's usually going to have the most traffic going through it. And that's because, their water intake is going to fuel their feed intake. And so the feeder closest to the waterer usually runs out first, and I have to fill that one more often. I feed these pigs, I fill up their feeders about twice a week, and every time I move them as well, even with 4 feeders out here. And right now, so I just calculated it this morning, these pigs, 109 of them, have been here since middle of October. And like I said, their feed intake is going to increase in the wintertime and in the cooler season, and that's going to be because they need more calories to stay warm and things like that. But these pigs, since today, all the feed I have in their feeders, they're at about 150 pounds per pig is what they've consumed thus far. And we're looking, to finish pigs to be about 300 pounds, and we want them to consume, about that 750 to 800 pounds per feed.
They're getting curious. Don't buy my boots, guys. Don't buy my boots.
We can move this way if you want.
So yeah, live streaming with pigs, super fun. Thanks to our new subscriber, Elaine Gather. Appreciate you subscribing to the channel right here on YouTube. Okay, a question from CoGreen45 asked about coyotes and pigs. You ever have any issues with that?
No, I don't, but
these guys are bigger than a coyote.
Yes, these guys are bigger than a coyote. So we have another group of pigs here right now. It's about 130 pigs out in a different pasture. They have been out on pasture for 3 weeks, a month or so. They're the 50 to 70 pounders. I was down there checking on them the other day, and I looked past them a little bit and I saw movement. I was like, oh darn, like a few pigs got out. I need to go get them in. But upon closer look, it was actually a coyote, just hanging out, running around down there. But no, we don't have any predator issues with pigs, whether it's, coyotes or anything like that. So no, not here.
Awesome.
Thank goodness.
So Kristen, I see Kristen just asked about the acreage per pig total. So I think Christine said a minute ago, 50 pigs per acre.
Half acre.
Half acre, okay.
100 pigs per acre.
100 pigs per acre. Another question from Mythos Gear wants to know if pigs need more land than sheep. And you raise both of them. I do raise both of them.
I'm trying to think of what it is. So, no, pigs can have less acreage than sheep. We do about 2.5 ewes per acre would be our stocking density for that. And that's with them grazing all year long and producing lambs here in the next month.
Awesome, cool. Okay, so thanks guys for all the questions. Keep them coming. We're going to, anything else about the feeders you want to cover?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. We're going to walk over here to our shelters and show you how we keep the pigs warm when it gets really cold. And then maybe while we're walking over there, we can play the video that shows how we move everything around.
Sure.
So like Christine mentioned, we move paddock to paddock every 5 to 7 days.
Depending on the weather, yes.
Depending on the weather. and that takes a little bit of labor. So we're going to play a video right now where you'll still hear us talking, but you'll see what we're talking about, where we're moving those. Do you want to talk a little bit about the equipment that you use and just your process for moving the shelters and everything around?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, we use poly posts and poly wire to set up their paddocks. And so once I have their next section set up and it's hot with our solar charger, what I'll do is I'll just go to one of the corners that's adjacent to their new paddock. I will pick up that post and I will fan that fence section inward to make a gate opening. And I usually do this when I have the tractor. You know, when I'm down here picking up their feeders, the pigs associate me with moving them, you know, with fresh feed and things like that, all really positive experiences. And so once I open up that fence, I can drive through there with their feeder or with their hut or with their hay, and the pigs will follow me through there. And so I can move all of these pigs, you know, by myself. In the wintertime, it's a little bit more labor intensive. So I will start by moving their feeders over, all the pigs will follow me, and then I'll go back and I'll get their huts and I'll move their hay. For moving their huts, these huts are pretty big, and we can talk about that in a second, but I use 4-inch PVC that's about 7 foot long, and I put that on the forks of the tractor.
Yeah, those over there.
And so I can pick up the huts and drive them to their new section. I like to move the huts before I place their hay out, because I prefer to put the hay, you know, in front of the huts if at all possible, to give them a little bit more of a windbreak. And then the pigs like to bed down in front of there, and then the hay is really close to the shelters, so you know it's less walking for me to put hay into their new shelters.
Awesome. Yeah, so what you guys saw there in that video was Christine loading up the PVC pipes onto the forklifts of the tractor, you know, moving those huts around, opening up the paddocks, moving the pigs, moving the feeders and all of that. So we recorded that just a couple of days ago to play for you during the live stream today. So I hope you enjoyed that drone footage that we played. And somebody is asking about the solar chargers, and so we walk over there in just a minute, just hang out and we'll talk about that. We got some more stuff to show you with the solar chargers, and we can show you those PVC pipes that are in the video as well. Okay, so yeah, they look nice and cozy over here, don't they?
Yes, this pig is following me around.
I know, he's a nibbler. So this guy wants to be a star. You just want your moment on camera, and as soon as I do, you start wheezing a little.
So for our shelters, you know, we wanted something that was easy to move, since we move them very often, even in the wintertime, you know, something that one person could move on their own. And so we went with the porta huts. And these specific shelters are 6 feet wide by 11 feet long. And, you know, there's just 2 pigs hanging out in there right now, but, you know, when it's time to go to bed and it's a little bit cooler out, we can see, you know, 10 to 12 pigs fit in there. So they get nice and cozy. That keeps them warm, you know, just having each other in there, all their body heat. The back of it has a little vent that we can open up so that they get some ventilation in there. But you don't have to go with porta huts. There's a number of different designs and types of shelters that you can use on your farm. You know, I see some people using like wood pallets or A-frames or anything like that. You know, you just need to think about whether you're using a sacrifice area in the wintertime, or if you're going to be moving them frequently, you know, something that's easy and durable to do that with. And so we have 7 shelters out here right now for these 100 pigs. We deep bed them. And so where the shelters are, I put a ton of hay in there as soon as we move them. You know, the pigs will bed it down. They get fresh hay in there every single night before they get in there and go to bed. And that keeps them off of the ground. That helps insulate them, keeps them warm. They'll help me by grabbing some hay off the hay bales, you know, making their own nests. Not all of the pigs will come and use these huts, but we want the huts available for if they want to use them. You know, there's usually a couple groups of pigs out there that go and bed down underneath the pine trees in the pine needles and things like that. They will also come and bed down here around the hay bales. And so this group of pigs, you know, they've gone through 10 bales of hay so far, and they've been here since October. And so that is an added cost to raising pigs in the wintertime, would be the bedding. And so there's different types of bedding that we can use. We personally use hay. It's mulch hay. And we have a local hay friend, you know, that bales it and drops it off for us. And so that's a really good source of bedding for us. You can use straw if you have a way to get that. I would recommend either hay or straw. You know, if you're going to use pine shavings, that's going to absorb the moisture out of the ground rather than preventing, you know, the moisture from coming up to the pigs. So, but if you're in more of a barn setting, pine shavings could work for you as well. The pigs will also eat some of the hay, especially when, you know, when it's a nice fresh bale. They'll help me take the hay net off and eat it and move the hay around and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of roughage for them as well.
And Kristen just asked about that. And so is there a reason you use hay instead of straw?
We don't have a really good source for straw where we are. The person we get hay from, you know, he's been selling hay to us for a while. This is just mulch hay, so it's cheaper than hay you would want to be feeding to cattle or to sheep. But, you know, it's also going to help keep the ground covered. I will leave the hay here once I move them to a new paddock, and the next batch of pigs that come in, you know, they will forage within there, root it up, and find some really good things underneath that hay as well.
Yeah, speaking of all this nibbling, thanks for the great question, Kristen. Healthy Homestead Chick asked about nibbling and wanted to know if you had any tips on how to keep them from nibbling your legs.
Walk away from them.
I don't think there is. They're just so curious.
Yeah, they're really curious animals. That red one's been following me around the whole time we've been down here. I mean, that's also a question if it's a pet pig or a pig you're raising, you know, for meat consumption. When I come down here and like I do their chore, they'll follow me around for a few minutes, and then they get used to me and they're just, you know, they wander off and do their own thing.
Well, they are just happy as can be out here. Look at them snoozing.
And so for pigs, something you also need to think about, with these guys, they have a comfort zone, a temperature comfort zone in which, you know, they're going to thrive at. And for pigs this size, you know, the 200 pounds roughly, or probably would be their average or so, maybe a little bit more than that. Mm-hmm. They want temperatures to be about like 50 or 60 degrees. That's when they're going to be, you know, the most comfortable. Yeah, it's 40 degrees here right now, but no one's shivering, no one is looking really cold. You know, they're laying out, we have some sun shining, so that's going to help keep them warm as well. The smaller...
This one's dreaming.
He's dreaming. With the huts, so when I place the huts in a new paddock, I'm going to want them facing the south because that's where we're going to get the most sunlight during the day, and that opening is going to be directed away from where we get our most wind from. So I face the huts towards the south, as well as our solar charger, which we'll go see in a little bit.
Yeah, and I noticed you were starting to talk about the smaller pigs, and we got that video queued up that we can play if we want to show about the receiving area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the smaller the pig, you know, the warmer they're going to need it to be. And so when we get new pigs in here, no matter what the season, they go to our receiving area first, and we have incorporated a new hut up there to help keep them warm in the winter months. But that's also something you need to think about for once they're out on pasture. So I have, you know, the smaller pigs in a different area. They have just as many huts, just as much hay. I tend to bed them down a little bit better in the evening time, just to help keep them warmer. But, you know, I go down there and there's maybe like 25 pigs in a hut. So they're all nice and cuddly as well.
Cool. Yeah, so we're going to play a video for you in just a second. I want to say thanks to Natis Ahmed for subscribing to the channel here on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that, and you will not miss a single video or live stream just like this one. We go live at least once a month, usually more often than that. So if you're enjoying this broadcast, let us know in the live chat what you like about it, how we might be able to improve future ones. What topics would you want us to cover in the future? You know, we raise pastured pigs, we raise grass-fed and finished cattle, we do pastured poultry, grass-fed and finished sheep, turkeys, so much more. We have a certified organic market garden, so much going on here on the YouTube channel. So like Christine was talking about, we have a separate area where we receive our piglets when they first arrive to the ranch at about a month old.
Oh, they're about like 50 pounds.
About 50 pounds old. And we've kind of built out some winter shelter in that space, and so we're going to play that video for you right now so you can see what our piglet receiving area looks like and how we keep the little ones warm in the wintertime. Check this out.
Before you receive piglets to your farm, you want to make sure that you have an appropriate area already set aside to receive and train those piglets. So here at Heifer USA, we are using an already existing barn that we just added some infrastructure to make it available to train piglets. We follow the livestock standards made by the Grassroots Farmers Cooperative, and so we need to have 6 square feet per pig available in our receiving area. 4 square feet of that needs to be covered by a roof to help keep those pigs out of inclement weather, out of the sun. So if you are doing a batch of 100 pigs, you need to have 600 square feet available to them, and 400 of that needs to be covered. The existing barn that we are currently using here has 2 sides and then a really nice roof. The outside pasture area is actually an old corral system, so there's pipe fencing out there, so we use that as our perimeter fence. And then we just put up some hog panels as our inside perimeter fence. So I really like this setup because it's nice and it's open to the air. We get some good ventilation going through here. We're also protected by the roof from the sun and inclement weather. The outdoor section of our piglet receiving area has a lot of thick, tall forage, and the pigs will absolutely love going out there. They will eat some of that forage, and they'll also trample some of that down. And then after the pigs leave, it will have time to regrow before our next batch gets here. Since we receive piglets 4 times a year, we're going to receive them during the different seasons. And so we wanted to implement something into our barn that really helps those piglets that we receive in the winter and the colder seasons, gives them a little bit of extra protection from the weather. So we just built this hoop structure that you can see behind me. It's made out of cattle panels and pine trees that we cut down here at the ranch. So the white tarp on top is actually old schooner tarp from our poultry enterprise. And everything in there we have repurposed. There are a number of different bedding materials that you can use. Those would include hay, straw, wood chips, and sawdust. Here at Heifer USA, we use mulch hay. So we bring up big round bales. So I will drop the hay bale within the receiving area. I will put down 4 to 6 inches of hay within the hoop structure so that the piglets can bed down in there. I put big armfuls within the hoop structure to make that 4 to 6 inch bedded area. And then I just leave the rest of the hay out here so that the pigs can interact with it. They will also eat the hay. They'll snuggle in the hay around the bale outside here. We go through about 1 bale of hay in our warmer months, but in the cooler months and in the winter, sometimes we'll go through 2 or 3 bales because we'll put down fresh bedding every day to cover up old bedded areas. And like I said, the pigs will also consume some of it.
I'll let you know.
Okay.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video and learned a little bit about how we receive piglets and keep them warm in the winter. That is a cutscene from a longer video that we produced all about how to train your pastured pigs and get them ready to go out onto pasture. So be sure to check that one out after the live stream or at your own convenience. So much going on, so much activity. I hope you're enjoying the broadcast today, or the video if you're watching after the live stream is over. This video will be on our YouTube channel forever till the end of time, so you can watch it anytime you want, as many times as you want. As you can tell, lots of activity, lots of pigs, lots of work, right? There's so much you got to do, you know, to raise pigs at this scale or even a smaller scale. So I want to ask Christine a question from me about, you know, labor differences in the wintertime versus the summertime. We're focusing on winter production here. What can you tell me about the difference in the amount of time it takes you to run this operation in the winter versus the summer?
Sure, that's a really good question. So it's going to take, you know, about the same amount of time to set up the fence as it would in the wintertime, the same as the summertime. That's not a big difference. You know, coming in and giving them feed, they're going to go through more feed in the wintertime than in the summertime. So that's going to be a little bit of added labor. But then also moving those huts, you know, moving 7 huts one at a time, that's pretty time consuming. Giving them hay whenever they need it, filling those moved huts with fresh hay and things like that. And so I usually do all the moving by myself. We need to move the waters over to the next paddock. On a given day, you know, it may take me 2 hours to move this group of pigs from this section to their next section, just because there's so much more equipment involved. And so, yes, it's going to be added labor to get all that done in the way that we produce our pigs. But then there's also going to be added costs to that. So, like I said, more feed. They're going to be going through hay for bedding, and they're going to consume a little bit of it. And then some sort of shelter for them. So like I said, we use the porta huts. They already come assembled, you know, they come like that off of the trailer. We just have to get them off the trailer, which is the tricky part. And then, you know, they're ready to go out with the pigs. We don't have to build anything. They're very stable and sturdy, and the pigs can rub up on them and not break them. And so added labor and added, you know, infrastructure costs and things like that.
Awesome. Thank you, Christine. Let me get one in there. So let's see. I think it was Eric Harness asked earlier about your solar charger and about fencing. And so we're going to get to your Eric Henry. Hope you're still with us, Eric. We're going to answer your question about the solar charger here in just a second. Few more things to come in the live stream, so keep watching. We're going to be doing some merchandise giveaways, including these Heifer USA branded hats right here. Good chance that you could win one if you just keep watching till the end of the show and find out how you can enter. We're going to go back in there with the pigs a little bit more and brave their nibbles and go check out this sleeping circle they've got going on. We're going to show you the next paddock they're going to move into, so you can see the stark differences that the pigs will have on the impact on the land. But now let's get to Eric Henry's question about the solar charger, and then we'll talk about your blue magic bucket.
Yes, it's my secret. Okay, so fencing and solar chargers, that's great equipment. I mean, that is what we use to keep our pigs in and to rotate them from paddock to paddock. And I am a huge Gallagher fan. These orange posts back here are Gallagher posts, and they are my absolute favorite. They're very sturdy, lots of different heights for the notches, so you can raise it as the pigs are growing. They're easy to put into the ground, whether it's the wintertime or the summertime. So we use poly posts. This is also poly braided wire, which is Gallagher brand. And then we have our Gallagher solar charger. So this is a S100 solar charger. I use this for our pigs. And what I really like about it is this setting over here. Okay, so it's off right now. There's a wildlife setting and then there's a livestock setting. For our pigs, I keep it on the wildlife setting because it's going to pulsate with the voltage more often than compared to the livestock setting. And so the pigs are going to test the electric fence every single day. And so we need to make sure that our fences are hot. You know, 3,000, 4,000 kilovolts is fine. The hotter, the better, obviously. But we want them to get shocked if they do test it. And so keeping it on this wildlife setting really helps ensure that that's going to happen. And then we just have a grounding rod that we move with a solar charger each time. We face our solar charger to the south so that it can absorb the most amount of sunlight whenever it's out and able to.
Awesome, cool. So Eric Henry, I hope that answers your question about the solar charger. He did ask how much area it can cover. Do you know?
Ooh, I don't know how many joules this is.
Okay, maybe
it doesn't say on it.
Maybe
Sorry.
Kennedy can look up the S100.
Yeah, it is very powerful.
And type something in the chat. We're going to find that answer for you and type it in the chat for you, Eric. Okay, so what's this?
Yeah.
What you got?
So, I mean, with that, it's going to depend how many miles of fence you have. You know, if all of our fence is free of brush or anything like that, so there's nothing touching it besides the poly posts or their water insulators. So it's going to depend on how much vegetation you have growing up with it, how many strands you're going to have. You know, there's a lot to think about with that.
Growing with natural state said that they've always heard that pigs are notorious for escaping paddocks. Is that true?
Yes and no. So whenever I'm working, the pigs rarely get out, but if it's on the weekend or someone else is doing chores, you know, the likelihood of them getting out is significantly increased.
And is that because you know how to keep the perimeter fence set up best, or what do you think?
I think it's because I know I'm the boss. I don't know. No,
They know a boss is going to come around, and they better be on their best behavior.
Exactly. They're always on their best behavior when I'm here. No, so with that, I mean, yes. So like I said, pigs are going to be testing that fence. They're going to be touching it. So making sure that your fence is hot, you know, making sure we walk our fence twice a day, every single day. The pigs are going to be rooting up to that fence. You know, you can see how close all this dirt is to the fence right now. They're rooting right up to that fence line. And so they may be rooting up some brush onto it or a fallen tree branch or anything like that. And so if you're not checking your fence to get all that stuff off, if you're not checking the voltage of your charger, the likelihood of your pigs getting out is increased. If your fence height isn't if you're using electric fence, you know, if it's not at that correct height, the likelihood of them getting out is increased.
Awesome.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I know. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so these pigs, they've been here since October. Once they're about 125 to 150 pounds, I take them down to just one single strand of electric fence. Prior to that, they have 2 strands of electric fence. You know, 2 strands is the most I ever put out for them, and they respect that. That's part of the training. So you need to train your pigs to what that electric fence means prior to putting them out onto pasture, you know, where they can get out and frolic around, I guess. And so you want your fence height, you know, where they're going to see it. They don't have very good eyesight, so it needs to be visible. So we have fence posts about every 7 paces or so, and our fence posts are either orange or yellow. Some of them are white, so they're visible. You know, this line is far enough off the ground. There's nothing in the way of it, so the pigs can easily see that as well.
Nice.
So visibility and, you know, checking your fence, making sure it's the right height.
Cool. Thanks so much for the questions. We're going to check out Christine's Magic Blue Bucket here in just a second. A few more things to cover in the live stream. Thanks for hanging with us. We're going to go check out the pigs some more, show you the next paddock they're moving into, give away some of these cool hats that I'm wearing right now. So keep watching. You can find out how to win those. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and you can be notified every time we go live just like this. Nobody else is doing live streams like this, where we're broadcasting to you live, 1080p, high definition, answering your questions in real time, all about regenerative agriculture. So subscribe to the channel and you can be notified every time that we go live. Let's look inside the, I've been dying to know what's in this bucket.
I love this bucket, but also this is a red pig that has been following me around the whole time.
And now he's just napping. He just wants to be on the show. He just needs his 15 minutes of fame.
That's funny. Okay, so I am very proud of this blue bucket. I talk about it all the time. This is the first time I'm showing people what's inside of it. But okay, so we have 250 pigs here right now in 3 different locations. You know, Heifer Ranch is 1,000 acres, and we don't raise the pigs next to each other. So there's a whole bunch of movement going on. And I, you know, came to the realization that efficiency is key. And so part of that is making sure that we have everything we need with us, you know, whenever possible. So we don't have to go all the way back to where we store our things, you know, to get a screwdriver or a rubber hose washer. And so I put this blue bucket together, and so it's like my pig survival kit. It has everything I may need, you know, to fix anything within our pig paddocks, so that I don't have to be running back and forth to get things. And so if you have seen any of our poultry videos, you can see we have a poultry water kit. This is like that, but with pigs.
So like a fix it and repair kit?
Yes.
Nice.
So anything that we may possibly need to repair our water hoses or the water trough, you know, rubber washers, new hose fixings, a screwdriver to tighten them, and things like that. So all that's in here. I talked about testing your fence. You can either, you know, touch it. I usually do that on accident. I don't want to do it on purpose, but, you know, we just have some of these cheap fence testers. You put the metal part into the ground, and then you just put it on your fence to make sure that it's hot. Okay, that's kicking it. It only goes up to 8,000 volts. We also have a fault finder Gallagher fence tester that can tell you like where your short is. These two things are for our Osborne feeders. So as I mentioned, like when it's muddy or wet outside, sometimes there's mud that gets caked around the inside of the trough. And so I use this putty scraper. You can scrape all that mud out of the way, and then you use this kitty litter scoop, and you can scoop that mud and shake it, and that leaves the feed in the trough but takes the mud out. Okay, so that's also going to decrease your feed wastage a little bit. We have a scrub brush, so if our pig waters, you know, get dirty or algae starts growing in them, when we move them to the next paddock or dump them out, rinse them out, give them fresh water, we can scrub them clean to ensure it's always clean, fresh water. A hammer for when we move our grounding rod to the next paddock. You know, you want to get that grounding rod really good connection with the ground, so, you know, 12 to 18 inches within the ground, depending on how moist the soil is. I have spray line, animal safe spray paint. So if you know, we have people that work here with us, volunteers, other staff members. So if I'm not always the one doing the chores. So I want to know if, you know, someone isn't feeling well or like looking sick or limping or coughing, you know, anything like that, anything that should be brought to my attention or anyone else's attention. You know, I have this spray paint out here, so we can easily just, you know, make a line on their back, and that is a really good visual for us that we need to keep an eye on that pig or anything like that. So that just marks them, you know, temporarily if we need to keep an eye on them. And then we have a rattle can in here, and that helps me, you know, when the pigs are younger, they're not used to moving paddock to paddock. Sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to get them all over at the same time. And so this is just a low stress handling aid that we use, you know, to move them or to get them back into their fence. And it's all in a bucket with our pigs all the time. Nice. With the lid to keep it dry.
Awesome. Yeah, that's super cool. And, you know, guys, I've been making videos with Christine about pigs for a couple of years, it feels like now, and I learn something new every day. So thanks for sharing the secrets of your magic bucket.
You're welcome.
That's super awesome. Let's get to a couple of your questions, and then we got a couple more things we're going to show you before we give away some merchandise. So we got a question about wait.
Sorry.
No, you're all good. Okay, one question here from Patrick Chapman. He's in New Zealand and wants to know what carcass weight you try to achieve with your pigs.
Okay, so there's a difference between like live weight and carcass weight. And
show these big boys while you talk about it.
Yes. We want our pigs to be about 300 to 320 pounds is an ideal live weight before we send them to processing. We want to send, you know, we don't send a few pigs at a time. We send bigger groups to processing. And so we want that average to be 300, 320 pounds. So depending on who's processing for you and like what you're getting back from the processor, you should be looking at about a 70 to 75% yield off of that live weight. So, you know, that should come to over 200-pound carcass weight.
Awesome.
Over 200 pounds for sure.
Great question. We had a question earlier from Dan Myers. Dan, I hope you're still with us. Dan wanted to know, you know, talking about feeding the animals, getting them to weight. His question was about bucket feeding versus free choice. When do you think it becomes economical to switch to free choice versus bucket feeding?
You know, there's going to be a lot of factors in that. One is going to be how many pigs are you feeding at one time, how much feed are they going through, like how you're storing that on your farm. So we're raising over 600 pigs a year here, so we have grain bins that we get feed delivered from the feed mill often, and then I can bring 2,000 pounds out to the pigs at a time. And so it really just depends on how much labor you have available. We used to bucket feed, you know, we also used to get 50-pound bags and dump them into these Osborne feeders. So it can be backbreaking work, but it's also like, do you have a tractor where you can bring out feed and fill up these Osborne feeders or any other type of a gravity bulk feeder that you have? I really enjoy the gravity bulk feeders, or these bulk feeders. You know, I can bring out all the feed at one time. I rarely have to mess with it. It makes chores a lot faster. So, you know, if I'm not moving them, if I don't have to fill their feeders, if I just need to put hay in their huts and walk their fence, you know, I can have pig chores done with this group in, you know, 10, 15 minutes, compared to having to bucket feed enough feed for all of them to consume. And then it's free choice. You know, they can eat what they want. They're not waiting for me to bring feed to them. With feeding them free choice, our pigs are gaining, you know, about anywhere from 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds a day, depending on the season.
Awesome. Great question. Thanks, Christine. Let's see if we got any more last minute questions here, but we're going to show you guys the next paddock that they're moving into. So we're walking over here too. You can see the fence line. And we'll talk a little bit about the difference, the impact that the animals have on the land, you know, the difference in the paddocks. As you can see, Christine can tell you a little bit more about this, but there are a lot of small pine trees around here. So these were planted a while ago, and we're kind of converting this area into a place to raise pigs. And so we've done some land management here in the area. So if you got any last minute questions, get them in now. We're going to talk about impact that pigs have on the land and moving them to the next paddock. And then we'll answer your questions, tell you about these live or these merchandise giveaways before we sign off.
Yes.
All right, so these pigs obviously impact the land a lot. It's wintertime. There's more bare dirt than we usually have. Tell me a little bit about that, the impact the pigs have on the land,
Yeah.
You know, what you're doing regeneratively to incorporate these pigs to promote soil health and better ecosystems and stuff like that.
Yeah. So we're in the wintertime, you know, vegetation isn't really growing. And so if I know I'm going to be raising a batch of pigs in a certain spot in the wintertime, I'm going to stockpile it. And so you hear that word more often with ruminants or cattle or sheep, you know, stockpiling for the winter. But, you know, I want that land to have rested for a significant amount of time. And so there's good ground cover for when I put the pigs on there. Yes, they are going to have impact on the land. We've also been doing some tree removal work down here. So, you know, there's already been traffic through here a little bit. But you can see where the pigs are going tomorrow. Okay, you know, there's great ground cover in there. Dead vegetation, there's some green stuff under there. There's some briars and things like that. So the pigs are gonna go in there tomorrow. I don't know how many days they'll be in there, you know, about 5 days. But that's going to depend on the weather. And so if it's going to rain, or if the ground is going to become, you know, more moist from rain or snow, I'll have to move them faster, get them off of where they've been. And so the pigs have been where they are now. We moved them in here Monday afternoon. So they've only been here for a couple days, and you can see the impact they've made on the ground. They've helped clear it out a little bit. They've done some rooting. You know, we expect all of those things, but we want to move them off of that area before they make too much impact. So if it's going to rain, I would rather move them to a new area to prevent this area from getting like too muddy. And so the pigs are able, if the ground is, you know, moist or wet, the pigs are going to be able to root around in there a lot more than if it's drier. But you also need to think about the impact that we personally will have on the land in the wintertime too. So I use a tractor to move all of these things. So our feeders and our huts and the hay. So we need to think about like the tractor roots and stuff like that that will be in their paddock. So that can also make raising pigs in the winter a little bit challenging as well. And then to help, you know, cover all this up, we can spread some grass seed behind them. So in the wintertime, like ryegrass would be a really good one. The hay that they have right now will also help, you know, put some seeds out there. And also they're just stirring up the seed bank that's already in the ground. So who knows what's actually going to grow up behind them a little bit. And it's also important just to give the area where the pigs are now significant rest. So we won't put pigs on here probably until the summertime again, so it will grow throughout the spring. But you know, you want to give those paddocks at least 60 days rest. You want them to recover before you put more animals on there.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, just look at the side-by-side comparison, you guys. You can really see the difference where over on the right, that's where they're going to. Over on the left, that's where they've been. So they're really clearing the land. Like Christine said, you know, we can come behind, plant some grass seed, plant some cover crops. And it's just going to look so amazing when that stuff grows. It's just incredible, the transformation that they can help have on your land by clearing it out, you know, giving you space to plant those things.
They're going to have more impact on the areas you want them. You can focus them in areas you want them to have more impact. So, for example, they're going to have more impact around their feeders. And so if, you know, you have a section of weeds or briars or something you want them to help get rid of, you can concentrate their feeders on there, or their huts, or, you know, put their water over there. They're going to have more impact, you know, in this open area compared to like within the trees that we have. You can still see there's quite a bit of vegetation and things that they haven't quite made it to over there. Nice.
All right, guys, as promised, we're going to be doing some merchandise giveaways. I got several of these hats. I'm going to give away 10 of these hats. So if you're watching the live stream now, there are probably about, I don't know, 80, 90, 100 people watching. So if you will do us a huge favor, okay, a little bit over 100. So you got a good chance of winning one of these hats. If you will do us a favor, if you're in the continental US, if you will fill out a short survey for us to let us know what you liked about the live stream, what you learned about it, if you'll implement what you learned. You know, we are a nonprofit organization. All of this work that we're doing is funded by our very generous donors. And so we want to make sure that our work is having the impact that we are hoping that it will have. So if you'll do us a huge favor and take 5 minutes of your day and fill out this survey to let us know what you thought about the live stream, what you learned about it, and how we can make them better, we will pick 10 winners, or 10 randomly selected entries to receive one of these hats. I'll ship it to you anywhere in the continental US for free, and that would really help us out, and we hope that you will enjoy the hats as well. So the link for that, if you're watching the live stream, is in the description of this video. We're also going to put it in the live chat. So click on over there, fill out the survey, help us out. We'll do a lot more live streams for you. We're going to answer one more question, and then we're going to sign off. So we got the last question here is, where do you source your feeders and huts from Nichols Road? Okay, so our huts, you can just go to portahut.com. They're out of Storm Lake, Iowa, I believe. Very great people, awesome customer service. You know, they have them already built, ready to go. They'll ship within a few days and show up at your place on a flatbed trailer. So huts come from Porta Hut. They have all sorts of different sizes. And then our feeders, they are an Osborne brand. But we buy them from Barn World.
they are a vendor for us.
Awesome. Well, Christine, for everyone here at Heifer USA, thank you so much for spending your time with us to talk about how you're raising pigs out here on Pasture. It's an amazing operation that you've got going on. I've learned a ton. I hope that you have too. I hope you've enjoyed the live stream. Check out that survey link. Help us out. We'll do a lot more live streams for you, and we'll send 10 people one of these Heifer USA hats right here. So thank you guys so much for joining us for the live stream today. I'm gonna give this last pig. This guy has been following us around the entire time, hasn't left our side, and I'm just gonna leave the camera on him for a little bit while we sign off. So Christine, any last words? Thank you again.
No, if you guys are raising pigs in the wintertime, good for you. I hope it's going well. If you want to do that, I fully encourage you. You can do it. Let us know if you have any questions, and I'd be happy to help. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome.